Hey, what's cracking? How are you doing this evening? I hope this finds you doing well. Heck, like I always say, I hope this video finds you on top of the world. Uh, if this is the first time you've ever watched one of my videos, my name's Ricky Dye, and I went to prison when I was 15 years old, and I was there for 20 years, 5 months, and 29 days before I got out. And you can't go back and change your past, but I've decided to try to do something positive in the fact of making these videos. I never charge anything for making the videos, never ask anyone for money. But what I've been doing is telling my story from the beginning, and I'm going to tell it all the way through. And the hope is that someone will watch these videos who's thinking about making a mistake. Maybe they won't do it because of some of my stories. At least that's what I'm hoping for. If nothing else, maybe you'll enjoy the story. And if you're down for that, well, then if you hit the subscribe button, I really appreciate it. I want to say thank you before I get going to everyone who's hit the subscribe button. I'm getting close to 770, I think, at this point. So we're inching our way to 1,000. We will get there sooner or later. And I'm not really worried about it one way or another, man. I've really enjoyed it. I enjoy doing the comments. At this point, I've answered all of them, and I'll try to continue to do that as long as I can. But, you know, if there's 100,000 people or something, I wouldn't be able to keep up. So it's just fine with me the way it is. Uh, I'm sorry, it's kind of hot out here this evening, and there's bugs. I've sprayed off on me, so hopefully they'll leave me alone and I'll be able to tell my story. I hope you're having nice as evening as I am this evening. It's beautiful out here, and I'm about to go work in the garden. But before I do, I wanted to stop and tell you a story. So before I forget, people, though, John Adams Hood, he helped me again. He always supports the channel. John, you don't know what it means to me. You don't know how much it helps me. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, brother. And if you decide, figure out what it is that you might be interested, you'd like me to do a video on, I'll be glad to do that. So just hit me up. You know, man, we got a line between us. So also, I had dinner this Sunday with Jamie Beller, a childhood friend of mine. I haven't seen him since we were 15 years old. We played football and stuff together. And I went and listened to him preach and then had potluck dinner with him afterwards. The dinner was great, and he done an awesome job preaching. Really, really proud of Jamie. The last time I saw him, he was a little kid, man. I mean, when I walked up to him, I guess he really got a kick out of me saying he was a skinny little kid, and he said he still is somewhere. I guess he thought I meant because of his weight or his size, and that wasn't what I meant. I meant he was the smallest kid on the team, you know, and now he's bigger than me. So up there preaching the word of God with power in his voice, and I'm really proud of him. He has really matured into a good man. Uh, and with that, I'm going to get right back into my story. If you've been keeping up, if you haven't kept up, you need to go back and catch up, man, because I tell it all in order. I'm trying to, and once I get the story told, I will go back and fill in holes. So many things that I've missed saying, but I want to get right to it. I'm living with Dave at Lexington, and it's 1993 or so in there. I think 1993, maybe the beginning of 94. We're hanging out with BJ. We're running around pretty much doing what we want to do. And at this time, only drugs I've ever done is weed. I've done that. I tried that methamphetamines one time, but anyone who is my age who used to do the other drugs and now they've done this ice, it's nowhere near the same. It's like a completely different drug. Um, when you would do the meth before, you would get stuck on something and you would really be all right for like 24 hours. And then you would start getting all paranoid, seeing shadows and going through all the skitzed out stuff. But this ice stuff, you feel like that immediately. You go straight to the skitzed out. So it's really not the same drug. Um, but people can't get the stuff to make it like they used to make it anymore. So I guess this is a substitute. I don't do any of it. It doesn't work for me. It makes me want to go crawl under something. And I'm an outgoing person. Anything that would change my personality, besides the problems that it would cause your health, anything that changes my personality, I don't want anything to do with it. That's why I don't drink. I want to be in control. I want to be sharp. And anything that dims my light, I don't want anything to do with. So there's that. But I'm young and I'm trying to fit in. I'm 19. And Dave and these other guys, they're doing this crank that these guys are getting in, and it's before they got ice. It's crank. They're doing this crank, and I see these guys in these cells, and they got this old broken syringe, a 3-unit syringe. If you've ever seen it, a diabetic syringe is only a half a C or 1 C, so it's 3 times the size of a diabetic syringe. Big old needle, and the needle has broke. The syringe is broke out of the thing. Okay, so So they don't even have a real 3C syringe. But what they've done is they've taken the needle from it, and they've taken the old barrel and they've put them together, and they've melted ink pens for plastic to put it back together, so that so it'll still work. And they don't have a plunger, so they take a craft stick and they take a piece of a shower shoe and they cut a circle out that will fit that hole, and they tie that to that craft stick with a piece of dental floss. So you got a piece of a flip flop, the rubber from the flip flop, tied onto a craft stick with a piece of dental floss, and that's how they're drawing up these drugs, this big old needle, and they're shooting this stuff, and blood is going everywhere. Man, there's no way I'm about to do that. So that's probably why I never shot dope. I've done every drug there is, but I've never used a syringe. That's probably why, because I saw that stuff. I've had a bad dream about that before after they did it. So whew, that was crazy for me, man. Seeing them guys doing that and blood running down everybody's arms and all of them going, all of them skitched out. I just took a little and put it in some coffee before, and that would get me high. You know, that's all I ever did, that. And later on, I got to smoking it. But I'm living with Dave, and I'm going to tell you, when you live around someone all the time, whether it's a cell partner that you're locked in a cell all the time with, whether it's a mate or a best friend, anyone that you hang around with all the time, they say association brings about a simulation. And the reason they say that is because I either become more like you or you become more like me. So if you have bad habits, I'm likely to pick up some. If I have good ones, maybe you'll pick up a couple. But whoever has the strongest personality, that's where it's all going to lean to. So I'm hanging out with Dave. He's older than me. I'm wanting to fit in. I'm really wanting to be this tough guy. And he's an airborne ranger. And I want him to, think something of me. And I want everyone to think something of me. So all these guys are supposed to be tough, hard white boys. They're doing this dope. So I said, I'm going to do dope with them. So now I'm drinking in my coffee, and sometimes I'm smoking it. And whenever your dope runs out and you want to get high, now you've got to get in debt, in prison for drugs. Everyone don't have drugs. There might be a guy that got it that has some, but he'll sell what he has, and then there'll be people that he made deals with that have it, and they'll have a little for sale. And usually they'll want that money wired to them for that dope. If it's $100 paper, they'll usually let you wire them $80. Or you can send your 100 by mail, and they'll put it up until it gets there and then give it to you. Stuff like that. People are usually really careful with it, because you let people get in debt to you for $80 and $100, and you're in here fighting over $3 worth of soups. So $100 is a killing offense. It's a really serious deal once it gets to that kind of money. And then because hard money is worth more, cash money, called hard money, green money, that means you have it in your hand, cash money that someone snuck back. Now, there'll be someone on the yard that loans that out, maybe a couple people. And they'll loan that out 40 for 60, 60 for 80, 65 for 100, stuff like that to people they know who get visits, who can replace it, who can sneak money back in and give it back to them. And that's how their money grows. They won't let people get it and mail them the money. You can't get it and mail money to their books. They won't accept that. You borrow money from them, you got to give them money back. So you can't do that unless you're sure you can get it. And Dave and me, we've got money from this guy named Tommy. We borrowed green money from him, like $120, $160, I don't remember. But we owe him money. We went down and got hard money, green money from this black guy. I owe him like 150. Got stuff from him. Borrow money for getting weed and borrowing Debbie's at night. So you go borrow $20 worth of Debbie's in a week's time. Everybody's hanging out, you and your buddies getting in debt, going and borrowing Debbie's from the store man, 2 for $3 back every night, or 3 for $5. And that adds up. You get to owe him about $20, $30. You can go get a $20 bill, and that's worth 30 in canteen. Sometimes they'll just take that $20 bill for 30 in canteen that you owe. Or maybe you're going to have that money sent to somebody's books and pay them to draw it down for you if there's a reason you can't draw it down yourself. So just one way or another, boy, we're getting in debt here and we're getting in debt there, and we ain't really worried. Me and him and BJ are smoking weed. Me and Dave are going to pay for it. And we ain't worried about it, because our plan is, I get money every week. My mom gives me like 50 every week. Then Dave's dad gives him 50 a week. Maybe he gets 25 from his old lady. And I've got a girl coming to visit me. That's one thing I did have for about the first 8 or 10 years I was locked up, maybe 15. I always had a girl come to see me. A girl that I went to high school come and see me at first. She was my girlfriend in high school. Christy was come see me the first time I was in prison. I'll tell a story about that sometime. First, when I first went to Lexington the first time. But now I've hooked up with this girl named Shelly, and she was Hogan, my cell partner in McAllister, the one that wasn't going to stand by me. Well, his brother is married to her sister, and they have custody of her because she was 16 at the time. Well, now she's over 18. I'm 19, 20 years old now myself, so she's getting older. She's 18 years old. She's coming to visit me. Uh, she will. I got deals set up, so say she can bring me a quarter ounce of weed to the visiting room, and I hand it off to somebody, and it's wrapped up. So what you do, you take it, you put it in a Ziploc bag. Anything you want to try to sneak in, especially weed, you can get up to an ounce. You take it and you put it in a Ziploc bag and you squash it down real small. And then you take black electrical tape and you tape it up and you make sure there's no smooth edges. And you want to get it about that long and about that big around where it won't hurt, if someone sticks it in the rear. Make sure there's no edges so it doesn't cut them or anything. And if they know they're going to do that before they go out there, they'll put a little grease on their rear or something and they'll go to visit ready to do that. And a lot of times you'll hand it to the cameraman or somebody that works down there. If there's a guy that works in the visiting room like a cameraman, his job is to come down there, take pictures of people that visit. But he doesn't get a visit himself. But his hustle is, the way he makes money, is he goes down there and takes pictures for people, but if anyone has something to bring in, they'll hand it off to him and he'll sneak it back. He'll wait till he's over there by himself and he doesn't get as much suspicion because he doesn't have anyone visiting. No one supposedly will handle him anything. And a lot of places you can't handle the money in the visiting room. Somebody else has to go and get it for you. So what has to happen is whether it's you or the person who brings it in for you, have to go buy something like a bag of chips, put it in that bag of chips, and then it gets laid somewhere left by the microwave or dropped in the top of the trash or different ways. And you tell the guy where it's at and he'll go get it and sneak it back for you. And that's one way to do it. And another way to do it is talk a staff member into bringing it for you. And here in a little while, me and Dave, we're going to talk one into it. But I'm not there yet. I'm setting up a little story here for you. Some crazy stuff happened to me. So me and Dave have went around and we've gotten debt to everybody. And we can't really pay this guy $140 green money. We're not going to be able to give him that. We don't have that much money. But what me and Dave have done was save up our 50s for a few weeks, come up with $250 between us. Wasn't that hard between two people. Because if his dad gave him 50 a week, my mom gave me 50 a week, and then his girl and my girl throw in a little, it wasn't that hard. Take a week or two to come up with $250. So then what we're going to do is we're going to give this money to Dave, and his old lady is going to go get some crank from a guy he used to deal with when he was out, and she's going to sneak it into us. And an 8-ball of crank is worth $1,400 in prison. And of course, these guys that want this hard money aren't going to take this. But we know a lot of other people are going to want this crank because he swears it's better than anything there is on the yard. And that means everyone really will want it. And there's some people that got a lot of money out on the streets, and there are people who do whatever they ask them to do. And these guys will come buy a chunk from you, a gram, $400 papers for $300, stuff like that. $300 papers for $200, and they'll wire the money right there. Or they'll have your family can go right over and get it from them. And we know several little deals we can set up like that. So that's our plan. We're going to get this crank in. We're going to make deals with these people who can give us money real fast. And we're going to take that money, and his old lady or my old lady will bring it up there to us. And we'll have a cameraman bring it in for just a little bit of weed. And we'll have everything took care of. And that's our master plan. And that's what we've been banking on the whole time we've been getting high, going around to these killers, getting their stuff, swearing to God we'll have their money when the day comes. But we're banking on a lot of things to happen here. So one thing goes wrong in the next. First of all, Christy gets the money. That goes smooth. Then Christy can't get any dope. Christy can't get it from the guy you're still with, so he sends it to another guy. That guy can't get it. We send it to another guy. He can't get it. Now that whole week goes by, and people are wanting their money, and we're lying to them because they're expecting us to have their money in the first place. They don't even know that me and Dave are taking the money, trying to get crank, sell that for money, and then pay them. Nobody knows that's the plan except for me and Dave. They think we're just going to get money and pay them. That's what we told them. They have no idea we've got this big old game plan for this money. So that doesn't work. So then I try to get somebody. We didn't have no way to get in a bulky thing like weed at the time. So it had to be something small. It had to be crank or something. So I got this black dude, and he tells me he can get cocaine, powder cocaine. Well, if he could, we know those same guys will send money for that. So I had my girl go over and meet his girl. And at the time, this girl that was meeting me, she really wouldn't bring me nothing, but his old lady would bring it to him. And I was kind of scared to do it in the first place anyhow. I didn't want to risk my family if I could let him do it. And that, I know that's shitty for me to say that, but it's just the truth. The girl I was with was kind of shaky. I didn't know for sure she wouldn't leave if I pushed her to do it. And I wasn't going to ask my mom. She didn't know anything about these deals I'm doing right here. No idea what I was doing. She gave me money, swear up and down I was doing just fine. As far as she was concerned, I was, and I wasn't going to tell her no different. Okay, so I've done in McAllister now and everything. I'm not telling my mom I'm scared about anything. So me and Dave's trying to work this out, figure this deal out. Can't get no weed in because we don't have no way to get that big of a thing in. So I get this black guy, and he tells me he can get cocaine. So I send my old lady over there. And this black guy comes to her house, in her apartment, sits in there, makes up a bunch of dope and stuff, and he gives her some dope. And we're supposed to bring in an 8-ball from him, and he's going to give me an 8-ball fronted to me for $150, and it's worth $1,400, and he's going to front it to me for $150, which is $100 less than we were going to pay for the crank. So all I had to do is let him do his little thing at my house, and he'd front me an 8-ball for $150, and he would just get the money from my old lady, which she didn't like that because going to have this black guy come sweating her. That's what she felt. But I told her, no problem, we've got the $250 over here. Dave's girl's already got it. You don't have to worry about the money, but we're going to use it. Still try to get some crank because I can make more money off this $150. Don't even worry, baby. And I always did send her money. There was a time that she was living in a house. I was paying her bills. I was paying her bills, $300 a month for rent and electric and gas and everything. And I was paying a car payment. She was doing all the good from me and Dave selling weed and powder in prison. So, but we've got this little deal going on, and this is at the beginning of it, and all the crinkles ain't worked out yet. And I get this stuff in for this black guy, but it's not powder. It ends up being rock. And selling powder cocaine in prison is one thing. Selling rock's a whole nother. It used to be a real hard time selling rock. So I really wasn't able to sell anybody this stuff, man. I go around and give it to a couple people who really didn't want it, but they took it. $100 worth here, $100 worth there. Then that night we locked down, me and Dave, and we got most of that 8-ball left that we had. But we've paid off this many bills and made this much back, so Shelly don't have to worry. She got her money back. She's already met somebody and got 150. We gave dude a gram and a half for 150. Way better deal than we would have had to give. But we're just trying to do the best we can for it. And then we locked down at 9. And we got a big old rock left, and Dave's going to teach me how to smoke it. He wants to smoke a little after all that trouble. And he gets me to smoke this stuff, and I could not believe how bad it did us. It is the devil incarnate, man. Next morning, as soon as them doors locked, we went and got back in debt to everyone we gave it to. We went and got it all back, smoked it all, and owed all the same people. We did it all for nothing. And he's saying when we were sitting in there doing that, if your old lady knew what that done to us, she would have threw it all out the window. And I never brought that stuff in again. That stuff is really bad. If you've never used it, don't ever use it. And if you use it, quit using it, man. It's bad. You'll get nothing out of your life from using that. Any drug. There's nothing good about drugs. Nothing. I've done every one of them in my life. But as I sit here tonight, the only thing I do is smoke medical marijuana because it helps me with my night terrors. It helps me to be a better person, to smile instead of walking around grumbling. Think about my blessings, my garden here I'm fixing to go work in. It helps me to do that instead of thinking about bad things. So I'm going to finish my story even though it's been 19 minutes. So that didn't work and we're still in debt. So now there's a guy named Wes, and this guy, he's known for getting cranky. And his old lady, look at her, and she looks, I hate to say that, but she looks like a meth head, like someone who does crank all the time. Real pale white, looks like she probably does a lot of drugs. But they say they can get it for me, and we're at visit, me and Dave and his old lady and my old lady, and we're sitting there, and his old lady and him's in the visiting room, and we have this $250 that we've got, trying to figure out what to do. It's not enough to pay everybody. We have to do something to turn it into more, because we'll not pay like 1.5 person, but what about the rest of them? Then we won't have nothing to pay anybody. It'll get us in a fight, paying just 1 or 2 people. And then what about the other people think they're not that important? These guys must have been more important. So that's how fights get started. You have to pay them all. You can't pay some of them. And Dave's already threw it out there to me. Let's just go around to all of them and tell them they're beat. I said, no, man, we're not going around and tell them all they're beat. Are you crazy? But Dave, he's tough enough. He might be able to get away with that. Maybe me and him could have went around. Maybe we could have whooped a few people and they would have let us ride. Or maybe someone would have stabbed us to death. But at any rate, we would have never been able to get a suit from anybody again. It would have ruined our word and made us nobody. And that's something you never do in prison. Even if you're tough, your word means the most. Excuse me. So what we end up deciding to do is, the only way we can take care of this is my wife has to go with Wes's wife and stay the night. She's going to take the $250 from Dave's girl. She's going to go with her. They're going to go somewhere and stay in a motel. His girl's going to set it up. She assures us she can get us an 8-ball for the $250, and she's going to try to get him some too. But the thing is, for us doing it is just, if we'll do it, I have to throw Wes half a gram. So we'll get, instead of 3.5 grams, we'll end up with 3. But that's okay. It'll pay everyone. It'll do what we're trying to do. And also, we'll know it'll work for next time, is what we're thinking. So my old lady goes with Wes's old lady. And we go back to the unit, and an hour or so goes by, and Wes comes looking for me and says, oh my God, you got to get your old lady, dude. She is tripped out. So he takes me and gets me on the phone, and his old lady was on there, but she's not. He's on the phone at his house. He's called. He's trying to talk to his old lady. She's not there. My old lady has accepted the phone call. No one's supposed to accept the phone call unless his old lady was back. But my old lady don't know that. She's nervous. She's scared. His old lady has took this money and left her at a motel room and hasn't come back and won't answer her phone call. So my old lady is thinking this girl has done left and took the money and just left her at a motel room. But he's talking to her. We're talking to her. He's like, no, you got the phone. That's how I'm calling. You got the phone. You know what I'm saying? She's going to come back. It's like, nah, I'm afraid she didn't come back. She took the money. She left. One thing led to another. It takes till 3 o'clock in the morning. And finally they get the dope. My old lady is nerve frazzled. She is upset. And she thinks things didn't go right too. She thinks they played some games. And they did. What they did is, his old lady got that dope and she went somewhere else and she cut it up real bad. And she gave me a bunch of stuff with cut on it and gave him stuff that wasn't really cut. Okay? Gave him the good stuff. Cut his a little and then gave it to him where he could still sell it and make money and get high off of it. And cut mine where it would cause me problems. Okay? So we get it all in there. We try it. It ain't hardly no good. It's no good. Want the money back, one thing, another. So I'm over there. Me and Dave, we're going to stab Wes. So that's what was about to happen. We're going to call Wes down the bottom run and stab him. And Wes found out we were going to stab him. So he comes over there and has this old lady give Christy $150 cash. Gives him a gram of good dope to Dave. Scared to death of Dave. He wasn't scared of me. I hadn't stabbed no one yet. I had gotten a couple fights. He was a little skinny guy. See, he had been a McAllister, and that's when I learned. This guy had been a McAllister for a few years. He was a little bitty skinny guy named Wes. This guy, you could look at him and tell he couldn't whip his way out of a wet paper bag. But he had been around killers a long time, and he knew how to talk the talk and make the faces. And people that didn't know any better, they go, oh, that's Wes. That McAllister's 5-6 years. And then you hear him, rah, rah, rah. And he sounds tough. And he knows how to talk like a killer. And he knows how to drop the names of the killers. And he's learning. He's really got the gift of gab. And he's got half that yard afraid of him, thinking that he's a killer or something. You look at him and think, I wonder how in the world he could be a killer. Because I want to tell you, the number one thing is in your mind. You have to be a killer in your mind. Before you can be tough in real life, you have to be tough in here. And that's all there is to it. First comes tough in here, and then your body has to be able to do it. If your body can't do it, you're not tough. That's why professional athletes that get in them cages fight. Because if your body can't do it, this has got to be able to make it go. And still, though, there was an old man named Rex McAllister, and he had killed a judge, and the judge and the DA off his case when he got out, and he was doing a life sentence. And he had been on death row, but he got it reduced to life because he was temporarily insane or something. And there was this guy picking on him in a cell in McAllister, and he went and got some gasoline from the guy that worked in maintenance that mowed the yard. And he walked by the guy's cell in McAllister and threw it in there on him and set the dude on fire. It didn't kill him, but it messed him up bad. And after that, no one messed with Rex again. So it's all right here. And in prison especially, it's about being able to not care what happens to you after it happens. Not caring how much trouble you're going to get in, not care if you don't ever get out. But the guy that does care, he's at a severe disadvantage. So if you go in there with a little bit of time and end up around the guys with a bunch of time, you're going to find yourself in a wreck. So if you're thinking about doing something that you shouldn't do, don't do it, man. So in the next video, I'm going to end up talking to you more about me and Dave and our wreck and how we did end up getting out of it. But as for now, we've snuck in this cocaine for this one guy, and it wasn't right, and that didn't work. We owe more than we did from doing cocaine. And then I've sent my old lady off with Wes's old lady, and he's brought us some cut, and he took the real stuff that he got with our money. But he's paid us off now because he's scared to death of Dave, and he thinks we're going to kill him. So that's where we're at now. The videos went over 25 minutes. In the next video, we're going to pick up there. And I hope that you're having a great day. I hope this video's found you well, and I hope God bless, keep, protect you and yours. And I hope to see you in the next one. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. Peace out.